Hello everyone, welcome back to the shop. I'm Kyle Royer. I'm a master bladesmith, been making knives for about 14 years, and today we just got in a sweet 13-pound package of sanding belts. Let's open it up and take a look what's inside. I need a knife. Oh yeah. I haven't bought any sanding belts in a while, and I'm almost completely out of the ones that I use all the time. What do we got? A receipt. Alrighty. Thin cardboard thing. Sanding discs. These are for my disc sander that I just recently got. Pretty sure they're 3M, really good quality sanding discs. Yeah. They got adhesive backing on them, so you just peel off this film on here and then they stick right to my disc. They're really nice. In fact, I'm actually at a stage, I'm like 5 minutes away from needing to disc sand this blade, and I'm out of discs, so perfect timing. I would have had to use some normal sandpaper and spray adhesive it on, which works fine too, but these work way better, last longer, cut better. Also got some belts, a couple of belts just to experiment around with that I haven't purchased, or at least I haven't purchased in a long time. Yeah, so this is a Trizac 360 grit belt. The reason I got a couple belts that I don't normally get is because I'm trying to do more machine finishing and a little bit less hand sanding. And then also, I'm trying to get a really nice belt that'll leave a nice machine finish on one of my blades, so I can do a couple blades that won't be hand finished, that are more hard using grade, that I can offer at a lower price. So anyway, I wanted to get some different belts that I could experiment with that with. And I had some of these years and years ago, but I don't think I was using them right, and they got gummed up really bad, and so I didn't really give it a chance. So I'm gonna give this one another chance and see how I like it for doing a blade finish. I got a Scotch-Brite belt of some kind of just medium grit. Never had one of these before. This is probably the most expensive sanding belt I've ever purchased. I think it was close to $20. But yeah, it's covered in medium grit Scotch-Brite, so that should be fun to play around with. That should leave a pretty nice smooth finish. Can't wait to try that one out. So these are good old standby belt that I have to have at all times on my rack over there. These are 120 grit Klingspor. Got 10 of them in here. They're right around $4 a piece. These are really, really, really good for me for real flexible applications. I have a special jig that I use to grind in my plunges over here. That's actually what I was doing right when this box got here. I was grinding in my plunges. We'll show you the jig in a minute. But I use these belts because they can flex around this really tight radius with the grinder on a slow speed and actually make my plunge cuts have a perfect radius that matches on both sides. More cardboard, thin sheet material. Might actually hang onto this. It's pretty nice. Could make a couple sheath patterns on here. Except the knives I've been making lately, besides this one, have been massive. So big to where this wouldn't even work for a sheath pattern. All right, now we got a whole bunch of something. There's 30, I don't know how many belts we got here. Let me move my coffee so I'm not getting grits in it. All right, so here are 10 Norton Blaze belts. These are ceramic coated belts, and they are amazing. I absolutely love these belts. They're a little more pricey because they're like $6, $6.25 a piece. That's starting to get a little more pricey compared to those other 120 grit belts, which were $4. What's really nice about these is they have a really, really thick backing on them. So when they're on my flat platen, they stay really nice and flat. They're not flexible at all. They're the opposite of those other ones. They're really stiff and non-flexible, but they stay really nice and flat for just cleaning things up on your blades and getting things really flat. So yeah, these are great. I love them. They got the ceramic on there, so they cut for a long time and just cut really fast. And yeah, so I have these in 120 grit. I got some 220 grit ones somewhere that I loved, but I can't seem to find them lately. So just have these in the 120 for now. These are also Trizact belts, like the first one I showed you guys, only it looks a lot different, as you can see here. The grit is like much smaller. The first one was a Trizact CF. These are just straight Trizact, I believe. So the grit is in a different pattern. Got Santa belts going all over the place here. So yeah, this one's the Trizact CF, and these are just Trizact. So I got these in 360 and 600 grit, because again, I want to try to do a little bit less hand sanding on my blades, and I'm trying to get some really nice machine finished belts that'll leave a really nice even machine finish for some projects I have coming up. So I've never even tried these before, correctly or wrongly, so it should be fun to mess around with. Those were like $7.50 a piece, as was that first Trizact CF one. Okay, so a minute ago I told you I really like these Norton Blazes in a 220, but I can't find them lately. So instead of the Norton 220, I got some of these 3M 240 grit, and they have these are called 3M 3-mite, 3-M-ite. And the reason I got them was because, again, they have a pretty stiff backing. Not as stiff as those Blazes, but I can't find those right now. But these are an X-weight belt, so they have a really nice stiff backing, and they'll stay nice and flat compared to the J-Flex yellow Klingspor belts I showed you. I forgot to mention, these are called J-Flex, and the J stands for the thickness of the backing. So J-weight belts normally have a really thin backing, so they're real flexible. And then you have, I don't know all the classifications, but the ones that I normally have are like the J's, and then these are X-weight. Yeah, these are X-weight, I believe. And then these ones that I love are Y-weight, or, yeah, so these 120 Norton ones are a Y-weight, which is even thicker. I love that. So those 3-mite belts, those are super affordable. They're only like $2.40 a piece, which really surprised me because they are 3M, which is a great company. They are just silicon carbide though, so they're not anything fancy like ceramic or anything. These are Herms J-Flex belts, Herms RB, and I have them in 320 grit. Now I normally go with Klingspor for this grit. I get the Klingspor yellow J-Flex 320 grit belts. I've been doing that for years, but this time I decided to try this other brand out in the same grit, just to see if I liked it any better or worse. So they're basically the same thing as these yellow J-Flex belts, only it's more of a blue belt. And something I noticed right off the bat here though is this seam. I'm not sure about this seam. Something that I like about the J-Flex belts is they have a really cool seam that really holds together well, especially going around this tight radius I'm going to show you. Whereas this belt has just a straight seam, so I'm immediately questioning whether or not it'll work for the application I want it for. But I thought I'd try it. I'll still use them up even if it doesn't work for that jig I have. I'll show you the seam comparison when I go over there and show you the jig I'm talking about. Yeah, so these are about $2.50 a piece, so not too bad at all. And I believe they're just some kind of silicon carbide. Not exactly sure though. More cardboard. This one's different though, guys. No shiny side. Oh, okay. Now, the best, obviously, is in the very bottom for last. These belts are really nice. They are my new favorite belt for doing heavy grinding. What we have here are 36 grit, 3M Cubitron 2 ceramic belts. Not to be confused with Cubitron 1s. These are Cubitron 2 sanding belts, and they are amazing. I just started using these recently because I saw some guys talking about them on the forums. I'm a big 50 grit fan, okay? For all my heavy grinding for years, up until like 6 months ago, I would say, I've used almost exclusively 50 grit belts for all my heavy grinding, just because I've always really loved the way they remove metal, and I don't know, I guess I might have been kind of scared of 36 grits when I first started out. The only 36 grits I've ever really used were for like just really cheap belts that I would shape down blocks of wood and ivory with. But I started using these 36 grit Cubitron 2 belts recently, and they are amazing. I ground with one of these belts. I was able to grind this 16-inch bladed dagger and a 16.5-inch bladed Bowie knife blade. Pre-heat treat and after heat treat, I did all the heavy grinding with one of these belts, and it was still enough, there was still enough grit on there to do some fittings. You could grind on some fittings and get those shaped down. There was enough grit to do like another rough grinding of a blade before heat treat. They really, really last. You gotta pay for them though, because these are almost $12 a piece. That can be a little bit pricey for a belt, but they last so much better than some other 36 grit belts I've tried. Something I will say about 36 grit though, even though I'm gonna be using a lot of 36 grits in the future, I feel like you have to use a little bit more pressure with a 36 grit belt for some reason than you do with like 50 grit belts. 50 grit belts seem like they maybe don't cut as fast, but they cut more creamy. These cut really fast, but you gotta do more pressure, and they don't feel as smooth and creamy and as controllable as a 50 grit belt. I can just really feel the belt underneath when I'm using a 50, so I'll pull out a 50 grit every once in a while still to do my final rough grinding, I guess. But yeah, I can normally go straight from this 36 grit though to the Norton 120 grit, so that's a really good jump. Something else I forgot to mention about these Cubitron 2 belts that I really like is they have a tremendously stiff, thick backer to keep the belts nice and flat. So the backer class on this one is YF. Like I said, there's a bunch of classifications, I don't really know them all, but this one's really got a thick backer and I really, really like it. No more belts. They're all gone. Coffee break. Getting cold. All right, I wanted to show you guys this jig and also compare these sanding belts like I mentioned earlier. So here's the new one that I got, the Hermes brand. Hermes. Is it Hermes or Hermes? I think it's Hermes. Josh, I'm serious. I may have said it wrong the whole time.
Hermes? Hermes? I don't know.
How do you say this word?
Hermes?
I think I was calling it the wrong thing the whole time.
Hermes?
Do we have to reshoot now? All right, now I wanted to show you the difference between these belts I normally use and these blue Hermes belts. So these are both 360. This is the Klingspor J-Flex that I normally use. This is the new one that I thought I'd get and try out. Something you can see right away, this J-Flex has this really cool seam that's like corrugated, kind of, and then this one's like got a straight seam. So I'm a little concerned. Here's my jig. Let me take it off so you can see better. So this is the simple jig I made to do my plunge cuts and get them perfectly rounded. All I have to do is take off this bolt here and bolt it right up. This fits on my K&G grinder. So I'm not sure how those Hermes belts will work on it, but if they don't work on this, they'll be fine for other purposes too. So the way this jig works is super cool. It hangs over this wheel and the belt doesn't even really touch the wheel at all. You have to have your speed pretty low with this. You don't want it very high because there's a lot of friction right here. Tons of friction. You also don't want to put a whole lot of tension on it because you'd be creating more friction. You just got to have the perfect amount of tension. If it's on there too tight, like it won't even go. Yeah, so basically my belt runs and I put my blade right up on here. So I'm not sure if these seams will hold up on this or not. Let me grab a blade and I'll show you what it's like. All right, so here's the blade I'm working on the plunge cuts right now with actually. So the way it works is I put my file guide on here, scribe a line on both sides, and then I just run it right up to the line. You gotta move it around a little bit and keep working your way up to that line. But this belt runs and it makes both radiuses on, each radius on both sides like exactly the same. and cleans all that up really nice. And your plunge cuts will be perfect every time. Like, you don't even have to look down them and like see if they're perfect. As long as you went to that file, that mark that you made with the file guide and a scribe, it's going to be perfect unless your file guide's janky. So it's super nice. I still take a look at them, but it's so reliable that you wouldn't even have to, and they'd be perfect every single time if you just go to that line. So let me turn it on and I'll show you this belt on there, and then we'll put one of these Hermes belts on and see if it flies apart right away or if it holds up to this extreme jig torture it's gonna have. Yeah, the belt goes on there and then you just start sanding up to your line like this. Do a lot of checking on it. So let's see if this one will hold up going on this jig. I'm gonna let it run a little bit and then I'm gonna stop it and take a look at the seam and see if the seam's coming apart before I put a blade on there. Oh, the seam actually looks really good. In fact, it may end up being better than this other one, I don't know. We'll see. Feels pretty good. Yeah, I'll give it a try and see how it works. I might end up liking these. I just wanted to show you why I bought this type of J-Flex belt, especially for this jig. Something else you guys might want to know, he's not a sponsor, but I really love his service and also his selection of sanding belts. So I wanted to let you guys know where I get mine from. This box today was from James L. Poplin of Pop's Knife Supply. So yeah, check out the down there for the link. We'll have a link to his website if you want to check out his sanding belts, and he's got some other cool stuff on there too, but I really love his selection of sanding belts, especially. Thank you guys so much for watching this little unboxing video. If you want to see more unboxing videos in the future, let us know down in the comments. Subscribe so you can see them, and leave a like. I normally buy some pretty fun things from MSC and also Rio Grande Jewelry Supply, and we could have some fun unboxing videos from those places too. So thanks for watching along, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.